Why is your Metaventure losing money? In this video, I'm going to explain how venture dues work and give you some tips as what you can do in order to increase your revenue. I'm YK2012, founder of the Upland Guide. On this channel, you can learn everything you need to know about the Upland Metaverse, tutorials, strategy, tips, tricks, and a lot more. Please hit that subscribe button and share this with a friend. Metaventures are in-game shops that players can run in order to sell their own assets and assets of other players, where shop owners can make commission. There are many types of metaventures, from block explorers to FIFA legit shops, all the way to cafes, factories, and in the future, many other types of metaventures. Operating your metaventure is not free. At the end of every month, you're going to have to pay the venture dues in order to ensure that your shop can remain open for the next month. What you can see here is the venture dues that players who own football or soccer metaventure shops in Queens have to pay on September 1st, 2023 in order to keep their shop open for the next month. I saw one player make a comment that he didn't sell anything in his shop for the past month, and he still has to pay this 11,530 UPX. There's no warning or any indication leading up to the end of the month that will indicate how high the venture dues will be. This just goes to show that operating your metaventure is not a trivial endeavor. You're going to want to maximize your shop's revenue in order that if something like this happens where you have to pay quite a large amount of money if you didn't make any sales, then you are able to weather that over time. Throughout this video, I'm going to explain exactly how this venture dues calculation works so you can better anticipate the fees and strategize around how you want to operate your business. If you've ever bought or sold a property with another player, I'm sure you've noticed that you are paying an additional 5% on top of the listing price as the buyer, or you're paying 5% of the fee as the seller, and that money goes directly into the community pool. When we're looking at metaventures, that cash flow looks a little bit different. As the buyer, the price that you see listed in the shop is the full price that you are going to pay, and that includes the 5% fee. So the price here of this swimmer, which you can see is $10.50, is actually 105% of the sales price. So the player listing this is selling it for $10, and the buyer is going to pay the $10 plus the 5%, which is 50 cents, which will go to the community pool. I mentioned that shop owners are able to earn commission when other players list their items in their shop. So in this shop, Dale's Sports Explorers, I have set the commission to 2%, meaning that I am going to earn 2% of the sale. This means that the remaining $10 is going to be split up, with $9.80 going to the seller of that item and 20 cents coming to me as the owner from commission. Now in this specific instance, this swimmer is actually my item, so I'm going to earn 100% of that price, so that $10 is going to come completely to me. Now before you say, well, that's not fair, I can just go ahead and open up my own shop, sell all the items, not have to pay commission to anybody else, and I'm able to earn more that way. This is exactly where the venture dues come in. So the first reason that your metaventure might be losing money is that if you are accepting sub-merchants, which are other players who are listing items in your shop, the amount of commission that you have decided that you are going to be taking on each sale might be quite low. As a metaventure owner, you can set your commission to be anywhere from 2% to 10% of the sale price. So if I can earn up to 10% of the sales price, why would I want to set my commission to be only 2%? If I was a player without a metaventure and I'm looking to sell my item somewhere, I'm going to be looking for somewhere that has the lowest commission price, because that would mean that I would be able to reclaim more of that sales price. Now, if the metaventure owner is able to provide additional value to the seller, then they might be willing to pay more than the minimum of the 2% commission. So from my perspective, there is a need for some sort of healthy balance where I can provide other players who don't have metaventure shops a fair opportunity to sell their items at favorable prices, but still, I also want to make some money. And there are a couple of ways that I'm doing that. One of them is that I can supplement the earnings by listing some of my own items in the shop, where I retain 100% of the price. Now, item number 2 that might be hurting your business is potentially having non-competitive prices and terms in your shop. If you have items that are only priced extremely expensive and people can find them cheaper somewhere else, there's a pretty good chance they'll probably go somewhere else and buy it cheaper, unless you give them a reason to pay a premium. So whether you're listing your own item or players are trying to list their items in your shop, you want to make sure that your prices are competitive, and you want to communicate that with the seller if they are looking to list an item in your shop and you know that there's no way it's going to be selling because someone else next door might be selling it for cheaper. I personally like to use the website ablend.me to take a look at all of the different market listings for all of the different types of assets. I mentioned at the top of this video that everybody in Queens who owned a soccer Metaventure shop, which were 55 stores, had to pay over 11,000 UPX for that month. If my block explorer is in Queens, I have many different options of where to shop and try and buy or sell these soccer legits assets. Now this number 55 is going to factor into the dues calculation. For every city, Upland has defined what they find to be the optimum number of shops of a specific type that should be in each city. So let's say that Upland has chosen that the optimum number of soccer legit shops in Queens is 25 Metaventures. So with 55, we're looking at just over 2 times the amount of Metaventures that Upland says is the best amount for that city. This means that the soccer legits Metaventure market is oversaturated in Queens. Reason number 3 that you might be losing money in your Metaventure is that you may have poor advertising and marketing. If we're taking a look at Queens and these 55 Metaventures, how are you differentiating yourself from the other 54? How are you telling people to come and list their items in your shop? And how are you selling those items to other people? If you're just waiting for people to look on websites like ablend.me and look up the cheapest assets that they're looking to find, and if you do not have the best prices, then you're not going to be making many sales. So what kind of additional value are you providing to either the buyers or sellers in order to convince them to come over to your shop? To help you answer that question, you're going to want to take a look at the link in the upper right-hand corner to take you to the Upland Guide website. We have a checklist that can help you answer that exact question and guide you into making a solid business plan for your Metaventure. So we've established that according to Upland, in Queens there are twice as many soccer Metaventures than there needs to be. Now we have to look at the sales of all of those 55 Metaventures over the past month. Now let's assume that there are some Metaventure owners that have their commission set quite high. Their prices are not correct, and they're not so good at marketing and advertising their shop. For the sake of this example, let's say of those 55 shops, those are 45 shops that haven't sold anything all month, meaning only 10 shops have made any sales. Now, of those 10 shops, let's just say that there's one that is clearly above and beyond everybody else, and they made over 1 million UPX of sales during that month. And the rest of those 9 shops made some sort of revenue between 1 UPX and 999,000 UPX. It really doesn't matter, and soon you'll see why. Now, the second parameter that Upland uses in order to calculate the venture dues for each of the 55 different shops in Queens for that month is the median contribution of UPX funds paid to the community pool. Now, do you remember at the beginning of the video where I showed you the swimmer and its cost being $10.50? Where the 50 cents is that 5% fee that is being paid to the community pool? That's exactly what we're talking about here. So the revenue from each shop is multiplied by 5%, and that is how much is being contributed to the community pool. Now, of those 55 shops, we're looking at the median, and the median is the middle shop. So when you rank all the shops in terms of how much revenue they have generated from low to high, we mentioned that there were 45 shops that sold absolutely nothing, 9 shops that made some revenue, and we had 1 shop that was way above and beyond, and they generated 1 million UPX of revenue. So 5% of that 1 million UPX is 50,000 UPX. By looking at this number, there's no differentiation as to whether you as the shop owner were the player selling the item, or it was a sub-merchant, another player, selling that item in your shop and you making some commission. So in this scenario, the median contribution of UPX to the community pool is 0 because there were 45 shops that did not generate any revenue. So the median shop in Queens is going to be 55 divided by 2, which is 27.28. So the revenue generated by the 28th ranked shop is going to be the number that is going to be used to calculate the venture dues that all 55 of the shops are going to have to pay. Now we're going to refer back to the fact that there are twice as many soccer Metaventure shops open than Upland defined as the optimum number. So we have a table here which shows the number of Metaventures as a percentage of optimal and the monthly fee percentage. So with the optimum number of 25 and the actual number of 55, we're looking at over 2 times the amount of shops that there should be. So what we're going to be doing is taking 257.8% and multiply that by the median contribution of UPX paid to the community pool. And we said a moment ago that that was 0. So we have 257% of 0 is going to be 0. So that means that everybody in Queens who owns a soccer metaventure is going to be paying 0 venture dues for that month. It doesn't matter that there was some person who sold 1 million UPX worth of inventory compared to the 45 shops that sold nothing. Everyone is paying nothing because that is the median. Now, this is a very extreme scenario, but if we look at something where maybe only 10 of the 55 shops sold nothing, and many of the other metaventures did make sales, and we have the top shops still selling that 1 million UPX worth of inventory. But if we have a median sales of 88,000 UPX, then we are able to calculate the 5% contribution to the community pool, and that would be 4,400 UPX. And if we multiply that 4,400 UPX by this factor of 257.8%, we're going to get 11,343.2 UPX. Now, this calculation might just be a coincidence, but I think it shows the thought process of exactly how these venture dues are calculated. So in this scenario, you would have to sell at least 88,000 UPX worth of inventory in order for you to break even with the amount of venture dues that you would have to pay. And when we're looking at the median contribution, that's by definition saying that 50% of the metaventure owners are meeting that target. Now, that was one extreme example where the number of shops that you have is twice as much as what Upland has defined as what's really necessary in that city. Let's take a look at a scenario where the optimum number of shops in the city is equal to the number of shops that are actually in that city. And you will be able to see how there's a huge change in the venture dues that players will have to pay. Again, going back to this table, which can be found on our website, the number of metaventures as a percentage of optimal, we're going to say is 100. So let's say the 55 metaventure shops that exist is exactly how many that Upland thinks that there should be. So the monthly fee of the median contribution of UPX paid to the community pool is only going to be 50% of that. So if we're going to use the exact same median that we calculated before with 88,000 UPX and multiply that by the 5%, we're going to get 4,400 UPX. And instead of multiplying that by the 2.57 multiplier, we're going to multiply it by 50% or 0.5. So the venture dues that everyone is going to end up paying is only going to be 2,200 UPX, which is a very big difference than the 11,000 that was calculated before. So at 11,000 UPX venture dues, that might discourage people from opening shops or encourage people to start closing or moving their shops, versus the 2,200 UPX, which might encourage more people to start opening shops because they feel that they might be able to take a slice of that pie. So now you can understand how additional shops being opened of the same type in the same city can negatively influence the amount of venture dues that you're going to have to pay. Now, in a saturated market where there are many more metaventures compared to the optimum number that Upland defined, the market really favors the top earners. But the more that you are able to sell and your ability to create a gap between yourself and the other businesses means that you are probably able to afford to remain open during these times when there is a lot of competition. As these venture dues goes up, naturally there are going to be people who have shops who are not going to be able to sustain their shops any longer, and they're going to have to either close their shop down or look to move their shop to another city where the venture dues might not be as much because there might not be as many metaventures there. Now, I bet you're asking yourself in the first place, why are the metaventure dues so high to begin with? Now, during the same month, I have a soccer metaventure shop opened in Los Angeles, and I only had to pay 2,000 UPX, which is a lot more affordable. And I also have this Block Explorer shop located in Manhattan, where I only have to pay 0.01 UPX for the entire month. So obviously when the venture dues are low, it really doesn't matter to me how much competition there is because I'm not really paying anything. I'm not earning, but I'm also not losing any money. But regarding the soccer metaventure shops, there was a competition this past month which really generated a lot of economic activity of players buying and selling legits on the secondary market. So this piqued everyone's interest and there was a lot of activity going on, thus increasing the venture dues. And once the venture dues increased, we can see that when there are a lot of shops open, you have such a large multiplier that it can really start turning a lot of people off of operating this metaventure if they're going to be losing 11,000 UPX during the month. I hope this video was really informative and really explained exactly how these metaventure dues work so that you can better strategize and think about how you want to open up different metaventures across Upland, and even you should ask yourself, is opening up a metaventure right for you? If you've got any questions, Please feel free to reach out, leave a comment below, or send me a message directly on any of my social media platforms.